Hi everybody, it's Geordie from Geordie's Cards. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am creating a beautiful card featuring some gorgeous new products from Pawsome Stamps. Now, Pawsome Stamps have had another mini release for summer, and this stamp set, Friendly Florals, is part of that release. It is so pretty. Just love this and couldn't wait to use it. I am pairing it up with the Seashell Fans background stencil, which I have here. These two products are just gorgeous. Absolutely adore them. So I'm going to leave my colouring in today. If you're not interested in colouring, please feel free to zoom through this. I just wanted to show how I did the flowers because I think sometimes flowers can be a little tricky. I wanted to show the colours that I used, and yeah, I just thought that these were so pretty, and my card is fairly clean and simple otherwise, so there's not a great deal else going on. The colouring is really what I hope makes it stand out. Now, I will reiterate, as I do every single time, I am no expert when it comes to colouring, but I've had quite a few people ask me about my colouring, so I decided to leave it in a few videos, and I thought this one was perfect to demonstrate how I colour things in, because it is a very colouring heavy, as I say. So if you don't want to watch this, I won't be offended. Feel free to skip through and get to the end piece. If you do want to watch it, I'm just going to pop some music on in the background. You can sit down, relax, maybe have this on in the background while you're doing some colouring, and then join me later on as I explain how my card all comes together in the end. So there we go, my colouring is all complete. I didn't show all the leaves or backgrounds because they were all the same and done with all the same colours. So I didn't want to bore you too much. I just wanted to show a couple of petals of each flower so you could get the idea of what I had done and which colours I had used. I tried to keep everything quite bright and colourful and tropical looking. I thought that most of these flowers were kind of tropical flowers. I'm not 100% sure what all of them are. I don't know what this orange one at the top is. I think I know what all the other ones are, but I didn't colour them correctly, shall we say. I didn't kind of like use Google images to help me decide on colours. I kind of went with what I thought looked good and worked with the flowers that I had. I do know that my frangipanis down the bottom there, we have a lot growing around us here in the tropical climate of the desert. So I know what they look like. I also know what hibiscus flowers look like. Most of the hibiscus flowers we have growing here tend to be kind of a dark red colour, but I decided to do mine orange just because I thought they looked kind of pretty. The orchids up the top right there, most of them tended to be yellow, I think, but I decided to do mine in this kind of pinky red shade just for another pop of colour. And then I've got my morning glories, which I did in pink. And it looks kind of like a marigold down in the bottom left. I wasn't 100% sure if it was a marigold, but I kind of coloured it like a marigold, so I used yellows. I have no idea what the flower on the top left is. So if anyone can tell me what that one is, please let me know. I just went with bright orange because I thought it looked nice and tropical. And I loved the pop of these colours, these kind of warm colours against that really dark blue background that I've used. And I just thought that they all stood out really nicely. This white gel pen detail just adds another little pop and adds a bit more dimension to them. Really like adding this on. I kind of just go with the flow and pop it down wherever I think it should be. I don't think there's any real right way of doing this, so just do whatever works best for you. And once I've finished up with all these little highlight details, I will go ahead and cut all of my images out so that they are ready to pop onto my card once I have completed my card base, which is my next step. So for that, I'm going to be pulling out that gorgeous seashell fans stencil, which I just love. There are some gorgeous stencils by Pawsome Stamps, and this one is going to be up there with one of my favorites, I think. So here are all the images all cut out and ready to go. They look so cute. They would be great just on their own. I've obviously used all of them because I couldn't decide which one to use today. So I have cut a stitched rectangle using a die, and I'm just masking off the stitching detail there with some low-tack tape. This is a little trick that I like to do. It just adds a little bit of something extra to the background panel. I like the way that it looks. It leaves that nice kind of white frame all the way around the edge, away from the stenciling that you're going to be putting down on top, and I just kind of think it looks really nice. And also it's a great way to hold the paper down in place while you're stenciling on top. That always helps. So I'm pulling out my stencil here. I'm going to hold it down with my magnets onto my Make Art station. And once that is done, I can pull out the ink that I'm using. So I am using Stormy Sky Distress Oxide ink. I think this is one of my favorite inks, just because it kind of has that vintage look to it, and I love a bit of vintage. And I really like the way it looks. It kind of looks quite classy, I think, on white cardstock. I don't know. I don't know what it is about it. I just really like this colour. And I think I have used it in other Pawsome Stamps videos where I've done some stenciling. I think it's just really nice. I love this colour, as you can tell. So I'm just kind of going fairly heavy-handed all over that stencil to create this gorgeous background. And I love that blue and white look that you get from using this blue ink on the white cardstock. And isn't that so pretty? And once I lift up all of my kind of masking tape here, you will see that nice white edge all the way around where that stitching detail is. And doesn't that look gorgeous? Just think it's so pretty. Such a lovely, lovely background stencil. So now I'm going to figure out where my flowers are going to go, which placement I'm going to pop them in. I tried to put them so that they didn't have two colours, kind of two matching colours next to each other. And once I was happy with where everything is going to go, I'm going to use a sentiment from the stamp set, and I'm going to pop that down kind of in between a few of my flowers here. So I just wanted to make sure that I had enough room for that. So I haven't stuck those flowers down yet. I'm going to stamp out my sentiment first because I'm being clever today and making sure that I do that before I start sticking anything on. And then I'm going to be using some foam tape on the back of these little images just to pop them up ever so slightly from the background, just to create a little bit more interest. As I say, I wouldn't say it's a clean and simple card because there's a lot going on with all the colours of the flowers and the background stencil, but there's not a huge amount going on in terms of anything else on the card, if that makes sense. I don't know. But I just wanted to add that pop of dimension with the foam tape just to make sure that these kind of stood out a little bit. So I'm trying to be quite careful with how I line everything up here. Because they are square shaped, they are relatively easy to line up. And obviously I'm doing mine fairly close together, so it's quite easy to kind of eyeball where they need to go. And I think I managed to get them on a fairly straight and square on my card. But as I say, you don't need to use all 6. I have, just because I couldn't decide which ones I wanted to use, and I thought they were all so pretty, and I wanted to colour them all because I really enjoy colouring. It's kind of like my relaxing time, my downtime, and yeah, so I just went ahead and coloured them all, and then I thought, well, I might as well use them all. So that's the reason why I did. And they fit nicely onto my card panel here with just enough room for that sentiment in between. And I just think that this is really, really sweet. It's a lovely, bright, happy, tropical looking card. I think it would really make somebody smile if you gave it to them. So once all of my pieces are stuck down in the correct place, I am just kind of fiddling around with this last one to make sure that I get it in at the right spot. All that I need to do is to mount it onto a card base. So I'm using a dark blue cardstock here, and I've gone ahead and cut another stitched rectangle and stamped another sentiment from the set onto that so that I can have a place to pop my sentiment inside the card. It's always nice to have a bit of white cardstock to write on if you're using a dark cardstock card base. It just means that you don't have to pull out a white gel pen or anything to write the sentiment in. And it kind of ties in the front to the back as well, doesn't it? So I'm going to glue that in place, try and get it nice and centered. Once that's done, I can go ahead and glue my front panel onto the card base, and that is it. My card is complete. I hope you enjoyed this one today. Just a heads up, there is an Instagram hop going on at the moment with Pawsome Stamps for this new release. So go over and check that out on Instagram. You can find the links by clicking onto my Instagram page, which is linked below in this video. And you can have a chance of winning a gift voucher to Pawsome Stamps. So well worth your while. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this one, please give it a thumbs up. Please feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. And please do subscribe to my channel. I'd love to see you come back. Thanks for joining me.